Hello everyone, this is Dr. Saurabh Bhattacharya. Currently I'm heading Department of Cytogenomics at Dr. Lalpath Lab. I'm here today to present about our new test which we have recently launched, and it is named as chromosome karyoarray. As name said, chromosome karyoarray, so there is a karyotype along with a microarray. So we have combined these two tests to help different streams which we are going to talk about in different slides later on. So what are the potential contributors for cytogenetic studies? We know that for karyotyping or for FISH or microarray, these are the four basic specialty departments or specialists who are recommending tests for cytogenetics. One is gynecologist, embryologist, endocrinologist, and neuropediatrician. Let's talk about gynecologists. So why this test is important in gynecologists? Who need are the potential candidates? So a woman, a couple prior to pregnancy, they want to evaluate their chromosomes, especially if a woman has experienced previous miscarriages or if there is any complaint of primary or secondary infertility, they should go for a chromosome studies. To detect specific chromosome abnormality, whether it is detected in a child or another family member, the parents should go for chromosome study. If there is a previous pregnancy with a chromosome abnormality, they should opt for this. Advanced maternal age, we know that advanced maternal age contribute very high for trisomy 21 or Down syndrome if age is more than 35 years, and that is a high risk for Down syndrome. If fetal structure or developmental anomalies are detected during an ultrasound, if coupled with consanguineous marriage, so if they are closely related and they married, so there are chances of chromosome abnormality which can be detected by a microarray. What are the causes of miscarriages? There are different causes of miscarriages. If you see this pie chart, 50% of miscarriages are unexplained. We don't know why this has happened. So it can be environmental, it can be mutagenic factors, it can be some other factors, but these are unknown. 45% is contributing for genetic abnormalities. So these genetic abnormalities may be chromosome abnormalities or single gene disorders or any kind of mutations. So basically 45% is contributing very high for overall miscarriages causes. Then 2.5% for immunological factors, and there are certain anatomical and structural factors 2.5% contributing for miscarriage. So if there is a parental genetic abnormalities, when we see that there are complaint for recurrent pregnancy losses, so there are 3 to 5% of couples with recurrent pregnancy losses can have a chromosome abnormality. So those chromosome abnormalities are like reciprocal translocation, which is also called as balanced translocation, 59% contributing to that. Robertsonian translocation, which has happened between acrocentric chromosome, whether it is 13, 14, 15, 21 or 22, they contribute 27%. There are chances of inversions, chromosomal inversions, so they break and they flip back to their original place. So 9% inversions are there. Sex chromosome aneuploidy. Sex chromosome aneuploidy means there is a single X chromosome or triple X chromosome or XXY chromosome. There are different sex chromosome aneuploidies are there. They contribute 4%. And supernumerary marker chromosomes. So supernumerary marker chromosomes are those chromosomes which cannot be identified and cannot be placed in any number of the chromosomes. So these are just a small broken part of a chromosome with a centromere, which is also contributing for the recurrent pregnancy losses, although this is very less, 1% only. Next, embryologists. Why chromosome microarray are important for embryologists? So we know that embryologist means there is a IVF, in vitro fertilization, and what prenatal genetic testing options are available. So suppose a pregnancy is achieved by in vitro fertilization, and once it is achieved, then it should be checked for chromosome aneuploidies, chromosomal abnormalities. So first thing to do is CVS or amniocentesis, which is very common procedures done in all IVF clinics or gynecologist clinics. So there are some risks for including miscarriages. No. And what are the testing options are available? So once a couple goes to a IVF clinic or a gynecologist, so first thing to do is a screening test. So whether it is maternal serum screening test or cell-free DNA, which is very popular right now, or non-invasive prenatal test, NIPT, or MBFD, maternal blood fetal DNA test. So these are the screening tests. and along with the combination of ultrasound, if there is a high risk, then they can think of invasive test, which is amniocentesis or CVS. And if it is a low risk, then of course they can think of continuing the pregnancy, or they can go for some other test to confirm that. But is this enough? No, it is not enough. Only screening tests are not enough. So invasive test is very important, and that is in invasive tests, amniocentesis or CVS is the best sample because you have to prick a needle and take out the sample, and those samples can be checked for chromosome aneuploidies or chromosomal abnormalities along with the single gene deletions, duplication or copy number variation. That is what we call. So our main idea of combining these two tests is to give you a complete portfolio of the tests available. So you are not going to miss balance translocation because microarray cannot detect balance translocation, but microarray can detect some microscopic small deletions or duplication in a chromosome in even a single gene as well. But in karyotyping, we can detect balance translocation, and at a one glance, we can see all 46 chromosomes, and we can detect aneuploidies at a time. So that is where we have combined these two tests and made a best panel out. Now coming to endocrinologists. So how chromosome array is important in endocrinologists. So endocrinologist means there is an infertility problem, there is a male infertility or female infertility. So who are the potential candidates? A male suspected with infertility with respect to azoospermia, oligospermia or similar disorders. So if there is no sperms, if there is abnormal sperms or similar disorder, means there is a Y chromosome microdeletions. So which is also very important to detect. So through microarray, we can actually detect Y chromosome microdeletion. We need not to go for any PCR or MLPA or any other test. We can simply go for this particular test, and we can detect chromosome aneuploidy, sex chromosome aneuploidy, along with the Y chromosome microdeletion in men. And in female, of course, if there is any gene deletion in a chromosome X, can be detected through microarray. And if there is any aneuploidy, whether it is triple X or monosomy X, it can be detected by karyotyping. However, karyotyping may not detect low-level mosaicism, but microarray may detect low-level mosaicism. So that is where this particular panel is very important. So we are not going to miss anything in. Now coming to neuropediatrician, why this test is important for neuropediatrician, and it is very well known that microarray should be considered as the first year test for any neurodevelopmental disorders. So neurodevelopmental disorders represent broad spectrum of cognitive, neurological, psychiatric dysfunction caused by impairment of the brain during development, and it can lead to certain mental dysfunction or brain dysfunction or autism. And for that, karyotyping is not enough, and that is where microarray is very good test. So prevalence rate is almost 13 to 18%, and these are some newspaper which has been published quite a long back. But this is very well known that India has the highest number of maternal deaths, and Delhi records highest infant mortality rate among metros. Chennai is the lowest. So we are sitting in Delhi. We know that there are lots of cases which are coming to our lab, and there are lots of complaints about neurodevelopmental disorders, and we are doing it in our daily life. So this is very well known, and it is very important for neuropediatricians. This flowchart shows that how to consider a genetic testing. So this is very important. So please look at it, and I'll spend at least 2 minutes here to make you understand that how it is important and what to choose for any particular abnormality. So what are the test selection factors? There are information quality, cost, utility of information, ability to process information, and time to research. So information quality means how we are giving you information about the test and how you are going to choose the best test. It should not be like that being in a lab, we say that okay, go for this test, and you are ending up with nothing. You are ending up with the normal results, and you know that this is a low resolution test. Why to go for it? So here in chromosome karyoarray, we are going to offer you a high resolution microarray along with the karyotyping. So you are getting a good information quality about the test. Cost is very good. Cost is very affordable. It is very affordable. Keeping in mind in our Indian scenario, we are now struggling with the economic restraints, and we have considered this in our mind, and we just kept the price at the best possible affordable price here. Utility of information. So what is coming out of the microarray and karyotyping results, we are going to put in a very brief manner, and we may share our reporting format as well to the key clients, and you can go through it. You can have an access of that, and you can see that how briefly we just give you a result. So it is very easy to understand that what we are trying to say. Ability to process information, and then time to result. So turnaround time, of course, time to result is should not be more than a week. Turnaround time is very good, very affordable turnaround time. We can give you a faster result. Now coming to this flowchart. So clinical presentation suggestive of a genetic condition. So a baby comes to a clinic and there is a clinical presentation. It looks abnormal, and what to do now. So if there is a distinctive, I would show with the laser pointer. Yes. If there is a distinctive clinical features, if there is a family history of a specific disorders, if there is an indication of biochemistry X-ray or complementary assays, etc., then of course single gene can be involved or multiple genes can be involved. If there is a suspicion of single gene, then epigenetic or triplet repeat disorders can be considered, and then these are the tests can be considered here: single gene sequencing or single sequencing, triplet repeat analysis, or methylation analysis, depending on what type of phenotypic features a patient is carrying, and according to that it can be considered. If there is a multiple genes involved, of course a single gene sequencing cannot detect multiple genes. So if there is a multiple genes involved, then NGS panel testing complemented with exon CNV analysis. So exon CNV analysis is also called as exon microarray, which we are offering here. NGS gene panel testing is also offered here. So this can be considered. So if this is negative, if single gene sequencing, triplet analysis and methylation analysis is negative, and after first or second visit, you can consider NGS panel or exon CNV analysis. Okay, coming to the right hand side, if there is a multiple non-specific concerns, we don't know. There are multiple concerns like facial abnormality, there are dysmorphic features, there are mental retardation, there are cognitive effects in a patient, then of course autism or intellectual disability can be there. No gene panel available, then you can consider microarray. So that is where our test is fitting here, microarray. So in microarray, we can detect copy number variation, unknown genes, unknown copy number variations we can detect here. And then if microarray is coming out as a positive or pathogenic variants can be detected in microarray, then you can stop here and go for genetic counseling and understand what to do next. If microarray is coming out as negative, then of course exome sequencing or trio analysis including parents can be preferred. If NGS gene panel testing or exon CNV analysis is also negative, then exome sequencing can be considered. And if everything is negative, then they can go for research gene discovery exome or genome, or I would say we should stop here and go for genetic counseling and understand what to do next. So here at this stage we have concluded everything, almost everything. If everything is negative, then it can be some kind of behavioral factors which can be rectified with the special care of a. So there are certain standards and guidelines given for chromosomal microarray. There are certain bodies here. American College of Obstetrician and Gynecologists have given their recommendation. American College of Pediatrics or American Academy of Pediatrics has given. American Academy of Neurology has given their recommendation. American College of Medical Genetics. All American societies have given their recommendation to use chromosomal microarray as a first year analysis for both post and prenatal cases. So microarray, when microarray came to India, it has really revolutionizing cytogenetics. So previously we know that if there is any chromosomal suspicion, chromosomal disorder suspicions were there, so we get to know that okay, just go for karyotyping or sometimes FISH, and if it is normal, then we just stop there. We don't know what to do next. But microarray is very important here because microarray can reveal lots of copy number variation and lots of hidden information which we don't know, and it can help a patient a lot. So there are lots of papers published after that. ACMG recommends replacing karyotyping with chromosome microarray as first line postnatal test. Then this is the paper published in American Academy of Pediatrics, clinical genetic evaluation of child with mental retardation or developmental delays. Then this is the largest paper for prenatal diagnosis published in 2012 by Wapner et al. Chromosomal microarrays versus karyotyping for prenatal diagnosis, and there are lots of recommendations came after that. So overall, we would say that increased resolution of microarray technology over conventional cytogenetic analysis allows for identification of chromosomal imbalances with greater precision, accuracy, and technical sensitivity. So that is where microarray revolutionizing. And chromosomal microarray proved to be cost effective. How it is proved to be cost effective? Because you are not going to search a needle in a haystack. You are going to reveal everything in one shot, and that is where our karyo array is important here. So you are going to detect a balanced translocation along with a copy number variation in single genes as well, and you are not going to miss anything. So it is value for money. Array genomic hybridization for diagnostic testing for genetic causes of intellectual disability. There are certain papers also published, and they have detected lots of abnormality which were hidden and cannot be detected through conventional cytogenetic testing. So there are multiple publications available, and they all say that it is a cost-effective test. So chromosomal microarray significantly increases the diagnostic yield of constitutional chromosome anomalies as well. So in this pie chart, if you see, microscopy is contributing almost 3%. So it can be a balanced translocation or any large deletion of up to 5 MB size of large deletion in a chromosome can be detected by microscopy. 10 to 17.5% abnormalities can be detected by back or array CGS with variable coverage. So back or array CGS is something a low resolution microarray, but this cannot detect uniparental diagnosis, which is very important. This will not detect loss of heterozygosity, and this will not detect any micro deletion less than the resolution covered with this microarray technology. But when this FE matrix has come up with the SNP microarray, SNP single nucleotide polymorphism microarray, we know that 20% yield is there for this particular microarray, and we are going to detect almost all possible micro deletions or duplication in a genome apart from balanced translocation. But balanced translocation can be detected by microscopy or traditional karyotyping analysis, and that is why we make this panel, so that we are going to cover everything. So this is just a cartoon, shows that how karyotyping is different from microarray. So karyotyping requires cell culture and chromosomal staining. So we have to culture the cells. This takes time because depending on the tissue type or a sample type, it takes time. So usually blood grows in 72 hours, bone marrow grows in 24 hours, and other tissues like prenatals, like amniocentesis or chorionic villus or any tissue, they take at least 10 to 12 days to grow properly, and then we can take out the chromosomes out of that. It can detect large aberrations only 10 MB, or if resolution is very good, if you get a long chromosome, then we can go up to 5 MB, but not less than that. Balanced translocations can be detected through chromosome karyotyping and triploides. Triploides are like every chromosome, or each and every chromosome make their extra copy. So there are 3 copies of each chromosome resulting in a triploidy. So that can be detected. Whereas microarray doesn't need any culture. So microarray, any sample type, we have to take out DNA. So we have to take out DNA either from amniotic fluid, either from chorionic villus or a blood. We just have to take out DNA. We have to label with fluorescent dyes. We have to hybridize fetal DNA to microarray. And there is a chip available for all microarray platforms. So we have to load a sample here, and this chip is actually comes with preloaded primers, or you can say preloaded single strand DNAs, which is ready to bind with the sample DNA, and when it binds, it will show a signal pattern. If it is yellow, then that means there is a no gene loss or gain in that particular gene. If it is red, then there is a loss of genetic material. If it is a green, then there is a gain of genetic material. And these particular signals can be transformed to a computer data, which we are taking out through our computers and then do a data analysis. And this data analysis will be done by combining with different databases like Decipher, OMIM, or CleanVar. There are different databases available. We have to compare with that and then conclude a result. It can detect large and small aberrations, variants of unknown significance. Variants of unknown significance are those abnormalities which is not available in a literature. There is no databases telling you about that particular abnormality, and we can't keep it as pathogenic or benign abnormality. So we don't know what to do with that. So variants of unknown significance is very important here because we may reveal something through a parent as well. So once we get a variance of unknown significance, we always ask a parent, couples, husband and wife or mother and father to give their sample for microarray so that we may detect some kind of inherited pattern for that particular genetic abnormality. And it will detect unbalanced translocation. So anything unbalanced can be detected by microarray, but balanced translocation can be detected by karyotyping only, and that is why we have combined these two. With these few case studies, we can actually explain you that how this particular test is important. So there is a case where pregnancy with ART is there. 32-year-old women, history of recurrent miscarriages, now conceived with ART, IVF pregnancy, presently at 13-week gestation on evaluation for the recurrent miscarriages, has parental karyotyping done, and it shows. What it shows, I'll show you. She refused prenatal testing as the pregnancy was precious. So she doesn't want to go for prenatal testing. What we have found, baby is born, and when we did karyotype for the baby, we found a Robertsonian translocation of 13 and 14, which is a very common translocation, and usually it inherits from either of the parent. When we did mother's karyotyping, we found the same Robertsonian translocation present in the mother. So if we would have done a prenatal diagnosis during pregnancy, we would have revealed this balanced translocation or Robertsonian translocation, and this baby would have managed in that way. However, balanced translocation or Robertsonian translocation will not be so fatal for the baby. They may show some kind of dysmorphic features or abnormality, but it is not fatal every time. This is another case with microdeletion of chromosome 7p22.3 and microduplication of chromosome 10q25.3. This is a very interesting case. It is about to publish from our lab. A 3-year-old boy having a clinical history of global developmental delay. Chromosomal analysis revealed an abnormal male with microdeletion of chromosome 7. P means short arm of chromosome 7 and microdeletion of 10 long arm. So we found simultaneous deletion and duplication in two different chromosomes, 7 and 10. So when we get this type of abnormality, simultaneous deletion and duplication in certain chromosomes, so we may think that this could be due to an unbalanced translocation. So in unbalanced translocation, either 7 short arm is missing and chromosome 10 long arm is missing, and both have gone and joined with each other and formed the unbalanced translocation. So when we did karyotyping for the baby, we have asked intentionally sample for the patient, and we did karyotyping, and we found, shown in a red arrow, that there is an unbalanced translocation of chromosome 7 and 10 present in a baby. So the main idea of making this particular panel is the same, that we have combined karyotyping with the microarray. So you need not to bother about whether you are going to miss anything. In one shot, in one sample, we can actually detect all this abnormality in one go. So we need not to bother you again to send a sample to reveal anything, and it will delay unnecessarily report, so that we can go with this particular panel and detect everything. So our curiosity didn't end here, so we thought, okay, let's go and check up parents as well, and that is where we checked both husband and wife or father and mother for the karyotyping. And what we found, so this is left hand side, what you see here is a karyotyping of a mother, and this is absolutely normal. So you can see chromosome 7 and chromosome 10 is just lying as normal. There is no other chromosome abnormality. When we did karyotyping of a father, we found that the same unbalanced translocation has been originated from chromosome 7 and 10 balanced translocation. So these are the balanced translocation 7 and 10 present in a father in the form of reciprocal balanced translocation, and which is contributing as a unbalanced chromosome abnormality in a proband or a patient. So what is the significance of SNP array diagnosis in this case? So let's discuss about these two chromosome abnormality. So what we have found in a baby was 7p22.3 deletion. So this particular deletion is well known in the literature, and it includes developmental delay, intellectual disability, internal organ malformation, and facial abnormalities in this particular loci. Investigation of a few genes in this region was also revealed that we have found FAM20C and PDGFA genes abnormality, which was lost in this patient. These genes have potential roles in patient's developmental delay. When we checked chromosome 10q gain, we found that these particular genes like DPYSL4, PPP2R2D, INPP5A and GPR123, these particular genes are also gained or duplicated in this particular region, and that is where it is contributing for the pathogenesis of a patient. So as I've already discussed, this chromosome 7 and 10 unbalanced translocation has been originated from a father's balanced translocation. So we also recommend our parents to, whenever they are planning for the next pregnancy, for all future pregnancy, they have to go for prenatal diagnosis to detect 7 and 10 unbalanced translocation again in a fetus, so that they can save a child or they can manage the pregnancy accordingly. So here I'm going to end my talk, and thank you very much for your patient listening. So far I have discussed about chromosomal carryoarray, the new test what we have launched. Any doubt in this particular test or panel, please reach our local sales team. They will help you. And if they cannot resolve your queries, of course, I am always available to solve the queries and to answer your questions. Thank you very much.